Farm Week is a production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, we're heading to Verona, Mississippi for this year's row crop field day. You'll hear from the experts and learn how their latest research could improve yields on your farm.
How much do you know about the Kudzu Bug? It's a pest that can invade your fields and your house. See what farmers are doing to stay one step ahead of the problem.
With the kiddos headed back to school, the Food Factor will show you some creative and healthy ways to spice up your child's boring sack lunch.
And farming may have just gotten a whole lot easier. We'll introduce you to Farmbot to see what this thing does and if it actually works. Farm Week starts right now. Hello everyone, I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Troy Moling. Thanks for joining us today here on Farm Week.
And today we're starting off the program with something a lot of the folks out there have been to before, and I'm talking about a field day.
That's right. You and I, we both went to one of the biggest ones that Mississippi has to offer. It was in Verona, Mississippi. So what can you tell us about it?
Well, if you've ever been to a farmer field day, then you know the drill pretty much. Wagon tours across acres of farmland and test plots with educational exhibits mixed in along the way. And as you'll see in this story today, with lower grain prices adding volatility to the economy and a slew of new research advancements, this latest event was of particular importance for growers across Mississippi. Fields were filled with several hundred farmers, growers, and ag enthusiasts turning out to Verona's North Mississippi Research and Extension Center. It's an event held every 2 years for Mississippi producers eager to see the latest crop research and rub elbows with industry experts.
And what we like to do is give them an update of what our ongoing research we have and also what is going on from a crop-wise standpoint throughout the state. It's important, the main thing is to keep them abreast of what's going on, what the research we're looking at, and what are the results that we're finding out, and also what is going on across the whole state, so they can stay informed and make an informed decision on their farm.
Topics at this year's event included final crop yield numbers, new developments in soybean breeding, and developments related to corn hybrids and irrigation. Additionally, crop response to poultry litter management was of prime interest for those in attendance.
And today we're kind of focusing on poultry litter management in row crops. When do we apply? How much do we apply? Can we crop it for 2 years before we need to make a reapplication? And also some work on cover crops and how do we manage that and what is the best system.
Mississippi State University President Mark Keenan was the keynote speaker and stressed the importance of agricultural research in order to keep farms efficient and profitable.
We've got great scientists here that are doing a wonderful job not only here at North Mississippi Research and Extension Center, but all of our regional research and extension centers, and of course our main campus at Mississippi State. The fact that we are ranked number 8 in the nation as a university when it comes to research expenditures in agricultural sciences puts us among an elite group of universities in the nation that are addressing critical issues for, again, agricultural production, forestry, food sustainability.
Regardless of your farming background, the gathering proved to be beneficial for everyone. It was also a chance to remind farmers of the Mississippi State Extension Service's reach.
We get good feedback from our growers that rely on us. And our research goes through extension, and they rely heavily on extension to help them turn a profit. As one farmer said, extension help and research help keep them in business.
Well, it was definitely an informative time, and we thank all those who helped make it a success. Now, all the research activity being showcased wasn't just on the ground in Verona. There was also a bit of high flying at that field day. You may remember a story on Farm Week a few weeks ago focusing on how farmers are looking to incorporate drones into their farming operations to survey their fields. Well, the technology was on full display in Verona at the field day. In fact, MSU President Mark Keenum emphasized how the university is helping customize these aerial systems for agricultural use.
Precision farming is the thing of the future, and hey, Mississippi State is a leader in that area, especially using unmanned aerial systems. We are the lead university in the nation. We are the National Center for Research in this new cutting-edge technology in partnership with the Federal Aviation Administration of the U.S. government. So the use of that technology and tremendous other areas of technology and production agriculture, our scientists, our researchers are on the cutting edge.
And we do want to remind you that even though they look fun, they are not toys. The drones are required to be registered through the FAA. You also have to be at least 16 years old and have a remote pilot certificate or be supervised by someone who does.
You can always keep up with Farm Week on social media, but did you know Southern Gardening is there too? Well, this week Dr. Gary Bachman tells us about the wealth of information on the Southern Gardening Facebook page that you won't always find on our broadcast.
Did you know that Southern Gardening has its own Facebook page? That's right, and it delivers great gardening and plant information. For example, during the last week of June, a very rare horticultural event took place right here in Mississippi, and we covered it on the Southern Gardening Facebook page. A Titan arum plant, which is native to Sumatra, bloomed at the South Mississippi Branch Experiment Station in Poplarville. Titan arum, this one was nicknamed Spike, has the distinction of producing the largest inflorescence, made up of many, many individual flowers in the plant world. The inflorescence is composed of a fleshy central structure called a spadix. Spikes grew to a height of 65 inches. Around the spadix is the petal-like spathe, which when fully unfurled has a deep burgundy inner surface and ruffled edge. What's so interesting is that Titan arums don't bloom every year. Spike is a 9-year-old flowering for the first time. Another interesting and unusual fact is the method used to attract pollinators. When the plant blooms, it produces an aroma that is not what I would call floral. In fact, it smells like rotting meat, and the pollinators attracted include blowflies and carrion beetles. You can understand why Titan arum has gotten another and very descriptive common name, the corpse flower. You can follow us by searching for and then liking the Southern Gardening Facebook page. Doing so not only gives you another way to watch Southern Gardening, but opens up another path to great gardening information. I'm horticulturist Gary Bachman, and I'll see you next time on Southern Gardening.
That's right. All you do is go to Facebook, type in Southern Gardening, like the page. It's that easy.
Well, it is the time of year some kids dread and some parents celebrate. I'm, of course, talking about back to school. And with that event comes another year of making school lunches. In this week's episode of The Food Factor, Mississippi State University Extension's Natasha Haynes gives us some tips on making those homemade lunches fun and healthy.
Packing your child's lunch doesn't have to be boring or stressful, but with a little bit of planning, lunch can be the highlight of their day. When preparing lunches, stock your work area with sandwich bags, reusable containers, plastic spoons and forks, napkins, and handy wipes. Now for the fun, use cookie cutters to create fun shapes from bread or thick cuts of lunch meat and cheese. Pack small portions of raw veggies along with containers of various dips, salad dressing, or even hummus. Experiment with new sandwich ideas by using different types of bread. Or try a tortilla rolled up and cut into slices. Let your child help with new lunch creations and choose from the items you've pre-selected. This will encourage them to eat their entire lunch and benefit from a good balance of protein, carbohydrates, and fats. Finally, leave a note or stickers to let your child know you're thinking of them. It's time to make healthy food a factor in your life.
And of course, Leighton, another great tip, make those lunches the night before. That way it'll leave you a little extra time. I haven't been in school for many, many years, but I still do that a lot of times when I'm making my lunch to take to work so I can sleep in a little extra.
Eases that stress
be
on
quicker
the morning.
in the morning. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So what's on tap in the markets today?
Well, the dust has settled, so to speak, from the August 12th crop reports, and we'll have some analysis for you. Also ahead in our market segment, there's increasing demand for chicken dark meat. U.S. catfish processing is down from a year ago, and an 8-week losing streak in hogs may be over, but it may not be. Well, we begin with those numbers in the government's first survey-based crop forecast of the year. That was released August 12th, and it was a surprise for the most part, and the new official price outlook for corn, soybeans, and cotton is generally not going the direction farmers had hoped. Futures broker Nolan Cullen of Jackson answered some questions about the August report for our market interview. Nolan, were you surprised at this expected record U.S. corn crop?
Well, I think most participants in the market were looking for some big numbers, but we've been continually surprised in the acres figure. We are seeing record yields, so the answer is the initial reaction was a surprise. We saw the markets come under a good bit of pressure, but by the end of the day had recovered somewhat. Not the classic technical reversal we'd like to think, new lows, sharply higher close, but early in the week here we're getting follow-through that suggests we've possibly seen, at least for the time being, some low in the markets.
All right, and of course a larger crop means predicted expanded U.S. stocks, ending stocks, and world ending stocks. All that is factoring into what this price picture may be.
I think it's probably a classic sell the rumor, buy the news situation. You can also use other cliches, last nail in the coffin, but certainly the supply side of the market has been played out. We are seeing good demand, so in the coming weeks, potentially any kind of weather difficulties, but I think I go so far as to say there's a good opportunity. We've seen the lows in the market for the time being.
All right, shifting to soybeans now. Again, a big crop coming, and what's your comment on that?
Well, certainly, I think the earlier question, there was a surprise. These numbers are way up there, but they've been consistent. Crop ratings continue to support that. So I think we're on what you'd call a contra-trend rally, technical bounce. I would think the upside near term in November soybeans would probably be in the area of 1030.
All right, and final question about the cotton market. Again, what did this report tell us?
Well, it says we've got a plentiful supply of cotton. Cotton may have been ahead of the game. In the previous weeks, we've seen a strong rally, went up to 78 cents, but unfortunately, like most of these markets, when they look like they've found the light at the end of the tunnel, we saw a sharp break in the cotton market. I think I'd go so far as say the lows in the cotton market are in. The demand is good. The bearish events have been China's supply, and combination of weather and the fact they extended their selling of reserves is going to keep a lid on the cotton market.
Now time for our trivia quiz on Farm Week, and our question today is about a popular place in many communities this time of year. How much has the number of U.S. farmers markets increased in the last 10 years? Is the answer 75%, 100%, 150%, or 180%? We'll have the answer coming up in a few more minutes.
Still ahead, chicken legs are more than just a name your wife calls you. They're also helping to offset chicken prices after last summer's bird flu. Leighton has that story. We'll also tell you what types of farmers need to be on the lookout for the Kudzu Bug. And you don't want to miss this. It's called Farmbot, and the creators behind it say it'll allow anyone to grow their own food. Is this the future of precision farming? We'll talk all about it.
You know what, Daddy? I think these may be the best tomatoes we've ever grown.
I think you're right. Hey, I bet we sell all of them before lunch.
Man, look at that. Let me get 4 boxes. So, how was everything? Did you enjoy those stuffed tomatoes?
It's delicious. Are these locally grown?
Yep, I picked them up at the farmer's market this morning.
Last week, extension experts from across the state filed onto the campus of Mississippi State University for the annual Division of Agriculture, Forestry, and Veterinary Medicine Summer Celebration. Attendees shared a meal together and heard about the latest news from Mississippi State Extension. The highlight, though, was the award ceremony. Here are a few of them. The Roslyn and Rodney Foyle Teamwork Award recognizes those who go beyond the interest of their department to forge alliances with other departments for the betterment of Extension. The Lewis and Doris Wise Support Staff Awards are given to those who emulate, quote, wise character. Winners must exhibit service to others, patience, high ethics, and a track record of meeting goals. Finally, the DAFVM Superior Faculty Award honors those with outstanding achievement in teaching, serving, and outreach. Numerous other staff and special project awards were handed out too. Congratulations to the winners, and that's this week's Extension Spotlight.
The website meetingplace.com reports that domestic demand for chicken dark meat is increasing. How about that? And this is a good thing, according to the Daily Livestock Report, because it helps offset the collapse in U.S. chicken exports that started last summer over the international concerns about avian influenza. Analysts think the improved interest in chicken dark meat is being driven by its affordability when compared to other proteins. Traders estimate that wholesale leg quarters should be able to average in the low 30-cent range. That is up from the mid-20s registered in 2015. Well, from the chicken house to the pond bank now, where less catfish is being processed in the U.S. This new report you're about to see reflects market in the month of July. U.S. producers received a pond bank price of $1.22 per pound. That's for premium size live fish in July. That is up 9 cents from a year ago last month. Farm sales, meanwhile, totaled close to 24 million pounds round weight. Now that is a drop of over 10% from July 2015. Processor sales were also down in the U.S. last month, dipping close to 2% from 1 year ago. As we record this week, the cattle trade is positioning ahead of the August 19th on-feed report. That is expected to show further expansion in numbers versus a year ago. Meanwhile, on the feeder cattle side of the ledger, analyst Don Roos says he thinks there's some room to move back up.
Well, I think it's like the cash cattle market. I think it has room to move back up. But, you know, if you get the November feeder cattle back up to that 146, 147, 50, I think those are more catch-up selling opportunities going into the fall again.
Well, there is some level of confidence the hog market may have what is being termed an intermediate bottom here in the latter half of August. Analyst Ted Seifert has been looking at this. He says Chinese demand for American pork has been soft, and that's one reason the hog trade has been in the doldrums for weeks and weeks.
We've been hoping or really planning on exports to get strong, especially from Southeast Asia, China in particular. And that's just really never shown up. So a lot of these bullish speculative bets that had been made in hogs based on the idea that we were going to see this big influx of Chinese exports, that never happened, and that had to come out. Now, you think that we could be getting close to that, and you do wonder. Chinese made some cancellations. This is a game that they like to play before they make some bigger purchases.
Well, no game playing here. It's time to wrap things up in the markets, but not before we give you that trivia answer. And the correct choice this week is D. U.S. farmers markets have experienced 180% growth since 2006.
Soybean farmers tending to their fields this summer may be running into an unwanted guest from Atlanta. But there's nothing peachy about this latest Georgia export. It's called the Kudzu Bug, and farmers and homeowners have been seeing a steady increase of the invasive insect. Now, new research is being done to understand the pest and keep crop losses at a minimum. For Dr. Angus Catchott, if it has 6 legs, you can bet he knows its thorax like the back of his hand. His latest research has taken him to North Farm, on the campus of Mississippi State University, to investigate the presence of kudzu bugs. At this soybean plot, he didn't have to look for long.
Well, they're very easy to see. They're not very big. They're about the size of a pencil eraser, but they're dark brown. And they walk around on the plants, and because of their color, they stand out.
The kudzu bug originated in Asia, but was first spotted in Atlanta in 2009. Since then, it's spread throughout the East Coast and is advancing through the South.
This pest is a hitchhiker. It likes to get on vehicles and crevices, and it'll move with people, and once it finds a place, it'll establish. So the fact that that's where it showed up shows that it likely did come in, possibly on an airplane or some other form of transportation. Stayed in Georgia, started moving through the East Coast. A few years ago, found the first ones in Vicksburg, Mississippi. Well, since then, it's essentially taken off in all the counties in Mississippi and everything east of us, and it's just now really getting established in Arkansas, and it's making its way west.
As the name would suggest, kudzu is a primary food source, but certain types of farmers could also be affected.
Well, from a row crop standpoint, we're essentially just dealing with soybeans. It feeds on a few legumes. It will also feed on wisteria. So that's another major crop host, of course, kudzu as well. So wisteria, kudzu, and soybeans are the 3 primary hosts.
Catchott also cautions homeowners to be on the lookout too.
In the fall, they'll congregate in very high numbers in houses, and essentially they're just a nuisance. It'll congregate by the hundreds or thousands, sometimes in old houses, churches, barns, or any structures. That's the places it likes to overwinter, protected areas, and a lot of times it's a real nuisance for homeowners.
Now, with the help from the Soybean Promotion Board, Catchott and graduate student Bill McWright are analyzing just how many kudzu bugs are enough before a farmer should be concerned.
Well, we want to be able, when this is done, to develop a threshold for vegetative soybeans that lets farmers know exactly when they need to spray. That way they're not overspraying or spraying every time they see a kudzu bug in the field. A lot of farmers are getting freaked out because they're so easily to see and just everywhere in the field. Every time they walk, they're flying around and they're wanting to spray every time they see them. And we're trying to prove that, or say that you might not have to do that and save some money.
Also, we're leaning on the southeast. They had the pest several years before us, so they've conducted a lot of this work already. One of the things we have found out, though, is it does appear, because our soybeans are grown in a much different fashion in the Mid-South, we plant very early and we plant early maturing varieties. So that's a lot different than in the southeast.
Dr. Catchott says he's received lots of calls about kudzu bugs this summer, but he wants to remind folks to be aware of other pests too. This is the time of year that soybean loopers begin to start up, and bollworms can also feed on crop roots and cause issues. But for kudzu bugs, if you're being overrun, your eyes may not be the first thing to let you know.
So a bad infestation, oftentimes you can get out of the truck and smell them before you get to them. They have a foul odor, and when they congregate, they have an offensive smell, and you'll sometimes know that before you even see them.
So Leighton, Bill McWright, the student you saw in that story, he said before he started his research, he didn't know too much about kudzu bugs at all, but I think it's safe to say he's pretty well versed in the topic now, isn't he?
And they're certainly doing some important research on the kudzu bug that will inform farmers about what they need to do and not do.
They most certainly are. Well, that's going to about do it for our show this week. You're going to want to make sure you tune in next week, though. Big show ahead.
We do have some grill masters coming on board. They're not old enough to drive, but their youth isn't stopping them from gunning for the grand prize. Get your taste buds ready. We're going to the 4-H cook-off competition.
And chia, we're not talking chia pets, we're talking chia seeds. Find out how to incorporate this and other superfoods into your diet.
And you don't want to miss this story. We'll introduce you to Dr. Harold Greer. Hear the inspiring story of how he opened doors and became a trailblazer in the field of agriculture.
Okay, this final story we've got, it's something. How would you like a machine, maybe even a robot, that's going to plant the seeds for you, pull the weeds, even waters the plants individually, does it all on its own? You need to listen to this. We've got some video to play while we're talking about it. It's called the Farmbot Genesis, and its inventors call it humanity's first open source CNC farming machine. CNC, that stands for Computer Numeric Control, and it was developed by a team from California. It's meant for a backyard, rooftop, maybe inside a greenhouse, And if you've ever played the game Farmville, the interface, check it out, looks a lot like Farmville. You just drag and drop your crops wherever you want it.
Now it has 33 different crops preloaded into it. You choose whatever you like. Designers claim it'll space them out appropriately. And since it's all through an app, you can control your garden from anywhere and you send it to the Farmbot. It's also monitoring real-time weather to manage that garden.
I guess you could kind of say it dabbles in meteorology then, doesn't it? But what's pretty interesting about this, it's an open source project, so that means the engineers who created Farmbot, they've released the code for the software for free online. So if you have an understanding about coding and how to build things like that, you can actually build one yourself or tweak the design if you want to do that too.
But if that's a little out of your wheelhouse, the company says it's accepting pre-orders and they'll ship you the kit with instructions. You put it together yourself. Now right now it's about $3,000, but they're hoping, they say, to get it closer to $1,000 in the future.
So we've got more info about Farmbot on our Facebook page, so comment, let us know what you think about it, maybe if you would ever use it for yourself. So that's going to do it for this week's show. I'm Troy Mullen.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks for watching. See you next week.